Hello, family. I'm Dwight.
And I'm DeWanda.
And we are the
Washingtons.
And we want to thank you for tuning in today to the H.E.L.P podcast. Every marriage needs help. And HELP is an acronym for honesty, the H. The E is empathy. The L is love. And the P is patience. And every marriage needs help. And that's the whole objective of this podcast is to simply help those who are married and those who are thinking about getting married to kind of give everyone a realistic expectation of what they're getting into. And so today's episode, we're going to talk about communication. I think my wife would agree that communication is very strong and it's needful in marriage. If there's no communication, then everything else kind of falls to the wayside. Would you agree, sweetie?
I agree, sir.
Don't call me sir. You make me feel old.
I mean, how old are you? Okay.
But we were talking the other day, and we got married so young, with me being 20 and you being 19, and actually we started dating when we were in grade school, and we talked about some of the pitfalls of getting in a relationship so young. And what were your comments on that? Would you recommend getting in a relationship at we got married so young, and most couples that got married at the same age we did, they didn't make it. Do you think it had anything to do with their age, or was it just other factors that you think?
I think it depends on the person or the persons. I knew what and who I wanted. So
all right.
Okay.
I see.
So I had it in my mind. It's got to work. It's going to work because I'm going to put in the work, and then I'm going to make sure you put the work in.
Okay.
So it's going to work. So I think it depends on the two. Are you really wanting to put in the work?
So it doesn't. So the age thing that we dealt with. So it's more of a matter of what I'm hearing you say. I think is more of a matter of the maturity of
the in the will.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there are people who wait until they're 25 or 30.
Still don't work sometimes.
And it still doesn't work because even though they're older, they come into the relationship with an immature mindset. So I feel you.
You feel me?
So that stalking paid off.
Hey, you better recognize.
It paid off.
Okay.
I often say that every marriage has to find its own flow. That's my thing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it came across my timeline this past week of a couple that had been married for 59 years, which is extraordinary.
Okay.
But they were interviewing the husband and the wife, and it was very interesting the dynamic they had in their relationship, because when they interviewed the husband, he said when they got married, his wife said, "I do." He said, "But I said, I will. I will do whatever I want to do."
What?
And for 59 years, it has worked for them. He goes, he's in his 90s now, I believe, but he goes, he comes as he pleases. I think a couple of times he's had girlfriends on the side, and his wife said, "Men are going to do what men are going to do." And I immediately thought, I have definitely got to renegotiate my contract.
It will
because
not even work. Okay.
this is
revoked. It won't work. It won't work.
So how do you don't think that's? But it
worked for them.
It worked for them.
It worked for them.
But you're saying it wouldn't work for us?
Absolutely not.
Doggone it.
You gotta be crazy. Not.
But every marriage, that just goes to show you that every marriage, you have to kind of find your flow for your house. And some things that work in your house definitely will not work in other people's homes,
Mm-hmm.
but then there's some things that we do that it wouldn't work in
That's true.
other situations and contexts. So it's always interesting when we interact with other couples, just to see the family dynamic and how things come together to in that context, or how they make it work. Communication, we said, is critically important. And I was thinking that for most of the people that are in my world, we were not taught communication skills early on. I think I've got probably 2 or 3 people that's watching me that came up like I did. Like my dad told me, if somebody hits you, you better hit them back. And if you don't hit them back, he said, I'm going to whoop you and then send you out to hit them again or hit them back. So that was our conflict resolution.
Yeah, really.
If somebody hits you,
Hit them back.
hit them back. And I think so early on we have this terrible advice as it relates to conflict resolution. And so what ends up happening is you do something to me, and then I'm going to do something back to you.
Tit for tat.
And it's tit for tat. And so what ends up happening is nothing gets resolved.
Right.
It just escalates because we don't know how to resolve conflicts because we were never taught that.
Yeah.
I don't know, in your house, how did your parents deal with conflict?
Probably about the same as yours, but we really didn't fight. So
like when you went
any
to school,
of us girls, no.
It was all girls with you.
Yeah, four girls.
So nobody fought, even in school.
Well, I mean, occasionally.
So I was gonna say
but we wasn't fighting to lose.
We're gonna go with that.
Yeah,
right?
well, we wasn't fighting to lose. Okay, so we didn't have to be. We didn't go home and then they said go back and fight and beat them up. We dealt with it then and went back home and said I got in a fight with so and so.
But what my point is that the gist of what happened was you say do something to me, I'm going to do it back to you. So if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back.
Well,
if you say something
bad to me,
I'm going to say something bad to you
I
back.
think that's how the world is. I mean, if you say something bad to me, then more than likely you'll get it back. Or if you hit me, I'm just not going to stand there and let you hit me. I'm going to hit you back. And then we take it into our houses, into our relationship, into our marriages. So
that same mindset.
Yeah. So if you say something mean to me, okay, well then you do this too, da 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 da.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
Yeah, like so you say something to me, I'm saying, well, your mama. And, so it's people. We early on we are not taught conflict resolution skills.
I agree.
And so when we get married, all we have ever known is I'm going to get you back for whatever you did to me, I'm going to do it back to you. So we don't know how to resolve. We don't know how to resolve conflicts. And we were talking that many of the women and the men in the marriages that we saw growing up, they stayed married for a lot of years. I think my parents were at 50 years before my dad passed, and I think your parents were at
like 56.
Yeah, it was
56.
they were close to 60 when your mom passed and then and ultimately your dad passed. But I'm not sure that they were happy. I'm not real sure they were happy. I think they just had learned how to deal with the sadness.
Yeah.
Back in that period of time, the women, they basically did whatever their husband told them to do.
True.
And that was how they navigated conflict. I don't want to make my husband angry, so I'm just going to do
what he say do.
What he tells me to do. And of course, you don't subscribe to that. So you don't subscribe to that at all.
At all.
So
You can ask me
what
to do, but you not tell me what to do.
Well, if I'm the head of the household, I should be able to tell you what to do.
You can say it all you want to.
Yeah.
Now, if it get done, that's something else.
So what if I say shut up? I don't want to talk to you no more.
That's gonna make me talk even more.
I know.
At a higher pitch.
I
too.
know you're gonna go all the way to B flat.
Okay.
You start off in A flat, and then you go to B flat, and that tone, that tone, I can always tell when you're going to the next level.
How can you tell?
Because my ear is musical, and you'll go from like A flat to B flat, and then when you really get going, you like can see. Like,
Whatever.
Doggone, this is my ears are bleeding, and it's just it's a long thing. So, conflict resolution was not shown to us, and it was not, it wasn't something that was taught, because the early marriages, even though they stayed married for a long time, I think there's a point where you just see that they just come to the conclusion that we're not going to go any place, and so we're just going to make it work, and we're going to be unhappy or whatever. But this generation that we're seeing now, like hey, I'm not going to deal. I don't have to deal with that, and I'm not. And so for early marriages, just divorce wasn't an option, right? So, and I think the way that women made it work was that they just tolerated it. So they tolerated. I mean, in many cases, they tolerated abuse. In many cases, whether that be physical or verbal abuse. Yeah. Verbal abuse is a real thing.
Bad,
And then they tolerated just other things, talking down to. But I think many of them, they did not have the skill set in their minds. They didn't have the skill set to survive on their own.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what desperation will cause you to do. But for you and for me, we've just always made it a conscious effort to talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are unpleasant conversations, and but you kind of always have to monitor your words and how the words that you're speaking to the other person, to make sure that that your words are seasoned with grace and mercy, because we both need that.
Yeah, and you don't get it back once you say it. It's gone. It's out there, and if it's hurtful, then the person's going to remember it. And even if they forgive you, it's still in their mind. So you gotta be quiet and think before you open up your mouth. Even if you're mad, just shut down for a minute, think about it, and then talk. Because once those words go out there, you can't get them back.
Well, you can say I'm sorry,
but that's still there. I'm still gonna remember that you said this, this, and this. So you gotta think before you open up your mouth.
Well, I notice like a lot of times if you say you sorry, sometimes it's not sincere.
Whatever. You can't say how sincere it is by the way I say it. If I say I'm sorry.
Well, you don't say it like that.
Well, I say I'm sorry.
No, you don't
what
even say you don't say, you just say sorry.
I mean,
and that's like,
but how can you tell? How can you gauge if that's sincere or not?
I don't think a lot of times you're sincere, but then I make you say it again.
Whatever. I'm not gonna keep saying it over and over.
But we joke about that, but it's a very serious thing, because unless you learn how to communicate to resolve conflict, your marriage is always going to be in peril. It's always going to be on the edge of breaking up. And many times all it takes is just a conversation. Like, tell people how you feel. Yeah. Because people, they can't read minds. Right. So you gotta, if you don't like something, you gotta say, hey, I don't like that. And if you do something that makes you happy, then tell. I mean, it's all about
communication.
Yeah. And I think, again, we just were not we were not taught communication skills, and so that I think that's probably the reason why. And I was doing some research, and there's a lot of other reasons that marriages don't survive, from, socioeconomic things like, money is always a big thing. That takes a huge toll on marriages. And, education levels, because it statistically, people with higher educations have a greater ability to communicate and resolve conflict. That's statistically. Okay. Like I said, people who are on the lower spectrum of education, they don't. All they know is fight. We just going. You do it to me, I'm gonna do it to you. But we don't know how to say, hey, what are we doing?
Okay.
I mean, what's going on here? What's going on in your world? Why are we always at each other's throats? They don't know how to have those conversations. Right. They just know, as we said earlier, tit for tat. Another thing that marriages struggle in is religious differences, cultural differences. And we talked about that because in our context, growing up in our denomination, divorce was pretty much a no-no.
Right.
And if you did get divorced, there were several things that were going to happen to you. Yeah. The church discipline.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And so people they stayed in there as a result, and many times they just
miserable.
They were miserable. They were miserable, and I don't know. I'm just processing in my mind all the married couples that I saw, as a child growing up, and you knew you could just look on their faces and you knew that many of them were not happy. Right. But in our religious context, they thought that was it. I mean, once I said I do, and someone would say, once you say you do, that's it. And so that was their mindset. Right. We're just going to hang in here and we're not going to be happy. But I think we can make marriages better if we just simply learn how to communicate. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that.
You look pretty today.
Thank you, honey.
So just learning those simple things that help, with the kids. Growing up, bringing our kids. We had kids young because we got married young, and just knowing how to communicate with our children. For us, if you were told to do something, it was because I said so. That was what Daddy's response was, or Mama's response was.
And it wasn't no asking why.
And it wasn't any asking why.
You better not ask.
And
why.
really. We just said because I said so, because we couldn't articulate why we just said what we said. We didn't know. That's what we had always heard.
Yeah.
So we have made an effort, you and I think, to be an example to those who would get married, and for those who are already married, just to show them a different way to survive, because marriage. If anybody tells you that marriage is easy, they've never been married. Because really, marriage is probably one of the hardest things you will do in your life, because you got two people from two different worlds, and they've grown up in two different contexts, and now they're trying to come together and become one. And that is really. That's really tough to do. So I think we have tried to be an example to the marriages that we influence. I mean, there are a lot of married couples in the church. I think, you had added up how many married couples in the church, and of course, since then, more have come on. And for us, it's just a matter of trying to be an example, to show people that it can work despite differences. Despite financial challenges, despite job loss, despite all the issues that marriages encounter, I think our desire has always been to show marriages, show people that marriages can work.
It can work.
If you work it.
Exactly.
And
Stay in there and make it work.
But if you communicate, you can be happy.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not a matter of just we're just going to stay in here and we're just going to be unhappy like we have seen in examples.
Right. Yeah, you got to talk it out.
Talk it out.
Talk it out. Don't hold things in. Just let it out and deal with it. How can we make this better?
And then, and timing, because everything is not a good time to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree.
You remember when you always knew kind of, I don't know how you knew, you just kind of instinctively knew that, all those years that I was working in corporate America, you knew that when I got home that immediately when I walked in the door was not a good time to hit me with
everything.
Everything.
Okay.
Like, doggone, I just walked in the house.
This, and this happened today. Yeah.
So you would always, like, you may mention it, but you didn't really go into detail. And so later, after dinner or, we would talk about it. It has to be addressed.
Yeah.
But it's like timing is important as well. Yeah. Can I get in the house first? Can I walk in the door before you hit me with,
hey, honey, this is
like, doggone.
Yeah.
Like, but you kind of, and then, you instinctively knew if I was in my office trying to get things together for either for a ministry stuff or whatever, you kind of kept the kids occupied. You just kind of instinctively knew to do that. And that was, I don't know if anybody ever taught you that.
My mom was a good teacher of things like that. I mean, she kept us occupied. Why? I mean, when Daddy would go out and preach while he was reading his Bible or something, she would keep us occupied. Let's go color. Let's do this. So she was a great example.
I'm not as I get older and I look back on that, I'm not exactly sure that was the optimum way. When I look back, I think that my children should have been, and I always thought they were, but as I say it verbally, I said you kept them away from me so I could do this. I'm not really sure that that would be my plan going forward, because it almost, and I know that's not the case. It wasn't for me. My children probably were my world. They are the most important thing to me, and they still are. Yeah. But to keep them away from their dad so their dad can do something to prepare for
something else. But it wasn't like you wasn't going to come back and play with them and, be with them. It wasn't like, okay, don't talk to Daddy because he's busy and let's go to bed.
Yeah.
And you won't get a chance to talk to him no more that day. It was like, okay, Dad's doing something, he's studying, and when we get ready to eat dinner, then you can come back in and talk to him and play with him or something. It wasn't like, oh, don't ever talk to Dad, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, he was a good dad. Yeah, a good dad.
Tell me I was a good father.
You was a good father.
Say it again.
You a good father.
Say it like you mean it.
Okay.
Well, you just, the kids are grown now,
yeah.
and so
I believe.
And I see
they
so much
say
of
you're
us.
a good father.
Would they do say that?
They do. Yep, you're a good father. If you wasn't, I'm like, I got some more training to do. Okay.
I tried to be, and I still want to be in my children's life, and fortunately, we have fostered that environment that our children are in our life, and we make an effort to reach out to them just about every day, and tell them that we love them. You got me to doing that, because in my context growing up, that wasn't something that my parents did. So when I got with you, and seeing how you interacted with your sisters, how you communicated with your sisters, then it changed my mindset. So For the last several years, ever since our kids were small, we both tell them that we love them and we're proud of them. My father was not a communicator. My father was the fighter. You hit me, I'm going to hit you back. But you kind of help open that door to verbal and nonverbal. You would be surprised what a hug will do, or just to verbally just say, I'm proud of you. I think my father was actually dying when the first time he told me he was proud of me, and I was like almost 40 some, and I told you, I said I wish I could have. Can you cut the cameras for a minute? Thank you. My bad.
Wow. Okay. You did good.
My bad. My bad. I'm good. I'm good now.
You did good. Drink some water.
Like God who said it, remember, when water comes out the faucet, the pipes get wet.
Cute.
There's going to be uphill too.
Yeah.
There are moments where you got to let loose things that you, as a man, you can't bother to be a man for your family, your wife, your kids. So I'm not tripping about you being vulnerable.
It's all good.
Yeah, don't apologize. That's what I'm getting at.
All right. I'm back. Yeah, I'm good now. Well, I'm sorry, family. I had a moment, just reliving, the first time that my dad ever said he was proud of me. He was, on his way out, and I talked to my wife about that because I didn't really know how to process that. I said, I wish he would have told me that when I was the 8-year-old kid or the 9-year-old kid. I said, I'm on my own now, and I got my own family, and I'm working and doing what I do, and but he did the best he could, and so we learn either by what we see or what we don't see. So that was one of the things that he did not do, and helped me to be. I think it helped me to be. He helped me vicariously, or in a negative sense. I think he helped me to be a better father. So.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, it's painful sometimes. I never wanted my kids to see to have that thought. So I've always told them
You love them.
that we love them, we're proud of them. I think that's necessary. Kids need that.
People need that.
People need that. In general.
Everyone want to feel like they matter and that they're loved.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's necessary.
So you do that very well, and because you do it so well, it's helped me to do it.
Great.
So yeah, we always want to show the. I don't want this to be a just some kind of scripted podcast. Even though we plan what we're going to talk about,
Right.
I wanted people to see the raw emotions that happen in a family dynamic and in a marriage, and so I just had a moment, and I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back.
That's fine, baby.
So when I get home, you're gonna have to do what you do to make me feel better.
Cook you dinner?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they gave a lot of when I was doing my research, it was a lot of reasons for divorce, and I wrote some of them down. We talked about the socioeconomic thing. We talked about the age of people get married. We talked about education levels. We talked about religious factors. It was interesting. It said something that surprised me, that people who have previously been married their divorce rates for a second or third or subsequent marriages are higher. And I didn't know that. I thought it was my opinion that if you went through a divorce, you would have learned what you like and what you don't like, and so in your second marriage, you would have done a much better job of being a better person for the other individual. But apparently that's not the case. Apparently people ain't learning nothing. Just like, I'm just gonna just keep on.
And that's, you got to have a accountability partner, somebody that you can bounce something off of, that's going to be your friend, that's like, hey, that's wrong, don't do that. I mean, you can't have a yes person in your corner all the time. You got to have somebody like, okay, DeWanda, no, you wrong, don't say it, be quiet. You got to have somebody that you bounce something off of. And I try to be that to different people in their marriages. Look, you wrong, be quiet.
You need to apologize.
Do that.
Yeah. You are very good at that. You're probably actually one of the best listeners ever. And it's just not me that says that. Everybody comes to you, and basically a lot of times, I don't know if they realize it or not, but you give some advice, but you don't give like a lot of advice like that. You simply just listen and allow people to talk, and in the process of them talking, the answer comes. I am convinced that God has placed within us the answers that we need.
That's good.
And it takes somebody in our world to be able to ask us the right questions. And when the right questions are asked, it unlocks the answers that have been there the whole time.
Wow, that's good.
And you have that gift. You just let people talk, and they talk and talk and talk, and then before you know it, there the answer is. This is what I need to do. So that's a gift. That's a gift. So
I know I embrace that. That's why it's like, this is a wonder I'm sitting up here, because I'm not talkative like that. I am a listener. So for me to be up here, it's only because I love you.
Well, I told the production crew, when we have an awesome production crew, I've told them that if they're expecting you to give these these long, eloquent answers, it's not going to happen. That's just not your flow. It just not. And so, but what you say, it is powerful, and it is pointed, and it is it is helpful, and it's needful. So never underestimate the power of the listener. The listener can unlock questions and answers that you already have within you. So it's a real gift that you have to unlock the answers that God gives us, that He's deposited within us.
Thanks.
What do you think about that?
Thank you.
So you are really
What you gonna say? Think before you say it.
No, I was going to compliment you again.
What you gonna say?
And I don't do this for the camera. I try to do this when we're off camera. It goes back to communication.
Yeah.
And you say now that I've made it hard on any male that my daughter dates.
Yeah.
You said that I make it hard because all she has ever seen in her whole life is somebody,
a
man
man.
that loves her mom, takes care of the family. So it is most men, that is what drives us. When if you want to get us to try to jump over the moon for you, and women have to understand this, that men need affirmation. And a part of the problem where our men, in marriages are not living up to our expectation is because we have not, as women, and you say this, have not done a good job in affirming men.
Right.
Like if you say, "Hey, I know you can do anything you put your mind to," then guess what I'm gonna do?
You gonna try?
I'm gonna try to do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to do it, and because men need that, and learning for women to learn how to navigate that, and to be the wife, to be the wife and the word that men need.
That your husband needs.
That yeah, absolutely. It is not stressed enough.
Right.
And so, women, they end up unhappy, and all it would take was just some compliments, just some words of affirmation to get that guy on the right track and get him going and get him moving.
We got the key. I mean,
in more than one way.
Okay, hey.
Yeah.
Okay, we got.
Sometimes
the key.
you have to unlock it. You have to release. You have to release the beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Women are powerful. I mean, all the way back from Eve.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, eat this apple. Okay.
Well, we don't know if it was an apple.
Well,
fruit. Let's be theologically sound.
Well, hey, this fruit, whatever it is.
Yeah. You know how I am about that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that with you, your theory and all that. But, yeah, we got the power. We got the key. You can make your husband. I won't say make. Is that a good word?
Well, I mean, if that's the word that come to you, that's where we'll go with.
I mean, do just about anything for you.
And over the years, you have proven that to be true.
Yeah. And I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
good.
happy?
You good. Yeah.
I'm good at what I do.
Oh my goodness. Yes, you are.
I'm good at what I do.
You are.
But I'm only as good as anybody is only as good as they're only as good as the staff and the people that are around them. I think because of who you were, you made me better.
Thank you.
Because remember getting up and on those cold days, I worked outside for 30 years, and getting up on those cold days when it was, 20 below zero and 6 inches of snow on the ground, I did not want to go out.
Right.
And you knew that. And so you would have me a sandwich ready and some hot cocoa and just equipping me to go out and face the world. And then when I would come home, you always made home welcoming, that I actually wanted to come home. So it is these are things that nobody teaches us, at least, and not in our context. Nobody taught us. We learned, and I'm still getting effects
from earlier.
From earlier.
That's good. That's
so,
fine. Yeah.
And I'm still, but there was no script. There was no, and we didn't. We had our parents. They were together a long time, but I'm not sure. As I said, I'm not sure they were all the way happy.
Right.
So when we got married, just trying to find our own way, and fortunately, it has worked for right at 40 years, and so it's been trials and tribulations, and I always want to be a transparent picture of a real situation. Like this is not Ozzie and Harriet,
right.
and this is not Leave It to Beaver. this is real world stuff, and
Yeah.
it's painful, it's real, it's raw,
Mm-hmm.
but you can do it. You can do it
Mm-hmm.
if you want to do it. If you want to make it work, it can work.
It can work.
So that's our take on communication.
Yeah.
I hope somebody was helped.
I hope so.
Uh, we've got some awesome things planned for you guys. You're gonna have to stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would if you would just like us, subscribe to us, share us if something speaks to you in a real powerful way.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some great things planned for you, our viewing audience. Uh, it's just going to be, I think it's going to be transformational. And if you follow us, I believe that your marriage will be greatly enhanced. And if you're on the verge of divorce, I think
Mm-hmm.
that if you would just implement some simple little things,
Yeah.
that you too can survive.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever storm your marriage is going through right now, I I believe that you can survive it.
That's
So
good.
until next time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm Dwight,
I'm DeWanda.
and we
We
are the
the
Washingtons.
Washingtons.
Have an awesome day.
Bye bye.